From the latest developments in the fight against insecurity to the ongoing debates on economic policy and governance, we'll be tackling the tough topics and seeking answers from the experts. Well, today we're focusing on matters arising from the End Bad Governance protest, plans by the Lagos State government to launch a digital platform for monthly rent, and the alleged invasion of the headquarters of the Nigerian Labour Congress by the Department of State Services, among other issues.
We're joined today by a journalist, author, and public affairs analyst, Mrs. Oluwatomisi Adebukola Badewale, who will share her insights and perspectives on these critical issues. Welcome to the front burner again.
Okay, I like the word again. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good to be here.
Stay tuned, Lagos. We're here to ignite the conversation and bring the hits to the front burner. Let's get started. Welcome back. The program is still Front Burner on Melody 107.7 FM. At the appointed time, our phone lines will be open to you for you to call into the studio and also join us via our WhatsApp number 09062 011077. That's our WhatsApp line. And also you can call in on the number 07048 001077. We will be starting this morning with the Polish government seeking release of its students detained in Nigeria. Roland's foreign ministry is seeking the release of 7 Poles, a group of 6 students and a lecturer from the University of Warsaw, who were detained amid ongoing protests in Nigeria. It has also denied reports in international media that the group were displaying Russian flags when they were detained. On Wednesday, outlets including Reuters and Associated Press reported, citing the Nigerian authorities, that 7 Polish nationals had been detained in the northern state of Kano. The episode happens amidst protests by hundreds of thousands of Nigerians over the cost of living. Now, this brings to mind the allegation of the federal government of the involvement of some foreign entities in the organizing the End Bad Governance protest. Don't you think this arrest has justified the government's position on this? And if it were to be true that these foreign entities actually played a part in the protest as well as creating chaos now, to what end? What, in your opinion, do you think is their motive of getting involved in the Nigerian domestic affairs?
Okay, I think we should begin by simply talking about the protest itself. Has it achieved what the organizers and the rest of Nigerians who are in support wanted it to achieve? Has it been successful? I mean, we need to look at the measures. South, west, east, north. No. Or we simply just do north and south and say, was the protest the same in the south or in the north? Was the protest the same across Nigeria? I think we've seen different dimensions to this particular protest. The demands are very very loud. The demands are very in tune with the ordinary Nigerian's opinion. The demands are also something that everybody can relate with. You know, like I'll hear a lot of people say, whether you're rich or you're poor, or whether you're high and you're mighty, or you're just down below. The most important thing, the difference is just that you may have money to afford these things, and the other person may not be able to afford as much as they were able to afford before, or some can't even buy at all. Now the question is, do we all cry for the same thing as we speak? Of course, we want easier lifestyles. Of course, we want to be able to buy and all that. So
for basic amenities.
Good. But we also must not forget that trouble thrives in a place where there is a little bit of chaos. The interesting insight, that a lot of people are beginning to bring forward, especially when it comes to the police force, when it comes to the Nigerian army, when it comes to a lot of people talking across board saying, there's an international dimension to it. Don't forget that some of the Nigerians who called for the protest in the first place do not even live in the country. So there's already an international dimension to it. If you look at it that way. It may sound funny, but if Showore lives in the US and is calling for a protest in Nigeria, then you must say that there's already an international dimension, even though the person in question is a Nigerian. Now, I heard you say that some Polish nationals,
7 of them,
were also arrested in Nigeria, as a matter of fact, in Kano. Yes. So that also puts, are they Nigerian naturalized Polish, or are they Polish married to Nigeria? Basically the thing is, there is some international dimension to the protest, whether we want to admit it or we just want to say. And like I said earlier, chaos brings about trouble, thrives where there is a little bit of chaos.
I'm going to stick to that.
So most people would come and take advantage of a situation. So Yorubas will say, it is simply because there is something, inside of your household that is breeding trouble, breeding chaos, that the outsider will now come in and use something, to entice the insider into helping them to achieve the aim. So until the police, until the DSS and all the security agencies release their reports, we really cannot say for a fact that this had an extra international dimension to it. But it was quite interesting when I started seeing flags. For me, I felt a little bit uncomfortable because I saw the flags and I'm like, there's something there, and don't forget that ignorance also is another reason why trouble will thrive. Because if the people carrying the flag understood what they were doing, then it would make meaning, to say,
like the governor of Niger State said that most of the protesters are Almajiris and they don't even know the reason for the demonstration.
So I listened to Governor Basoni of Kaduna State as well, saying, and I see the fact that he brought the bulk of the problem to the table of the northern elites and their leaders, and said over time education has not thrived. Education has not taken its place in the society over there, and because of that, as a matter of fact, it said something that I have been saying for a long time, and it was interesting hearing a northern elite, northern governor say it. It said, when they say Nigeria is a poverty capital in Africa, and a lot of people keep saying, Nigeria is poverty, have you ever wondered, have you checked the demographics to say where are the poor really in the north or in the south? Are they in the north or are they in the south? So the largest number of poor people, the largest number of out of school children are in the north, and as long as they're in the north, ignorance, lack of knowledge will thrive. If that thrives, my dear, it means the environment, it means the people are a fertile ground for abandonment, a fertile ground for manipulation, a fertile ground for 20 naira. Just go and you see when you are going and put chaos. Just put fire in this place and just burn down the building. It's a fertile ground for all of that, and you can't blame them. They are not educated enough to know what they're doing.
Well, let's not forget that Nigerian security agencies are investigating at least 4 politicians from the same northern part of the country over the use of the Russian flags by the End Bad Governance protesters. Multiple sources told me that the political bigwigs who hail from Katsina, Kaduna, and Kano states were principal actors who instigated the use of Russian flags among demonstrators in that part of the country. And let's bring me to my question right now. Is it that we have gotten to the point in our democracy that people no longer believe in our democratically elected leaders, that they have to resort to calling on a perceived and more powerful foreign entity to come to their aid? Is this not a fallout of the bad governance and maladministration that we've been talking about over time?
Okay, thank you. Let's go back to the fact that we're talking about manipulation here.
Yeah.
Now, the person who wants to call for that should have been bold enough to come out to call for that.
Yes,
The people,
that's not the one.
somebody paid for the fabric. Somebody paid for, somebody conceptualized that flag thing, and somebody paid for the fabric. Somebody also paid for the tailors to make it, and somebody paid the protesters to actually use it and fly it. Somebody paid them to stay on the street. And I'm not talking about all the protesters. I'm talking about the ones who carried these flags. Those are the ones I'm talking about. Now, the person who did that is a coward, in my opinion, because if I have an issue with you, I will tell you, Hameedah, you did this, and for me, you need to leave your seat. I'll be bold enough to say it. But if you hide, it's cowardice.
Behind the
If you
ignorance.
hide behind the ignorance and the youthful exuberance, if you hide behind the youthful nature and the uneducation of a group of people to permeate trouble, then you are a big coward. Those people are cowards. So if peradventure, we've been talking about bad governance in Africa as a whole for a very long time. Don't forget, it's not just in Africa.
No, it's not just.
It's quite interesting. Bangladesh, there was a change of
Yes,
government. You know,
yes,
we're talking about the United Kingdom, where people are fighting that our brothers don't come into their country. Don't become. They're fighting immigration. You know, as we speak.
Where someone said 95% of blacks and Asians are actually troublemakers.
Now, you see, we're looking at the US, where somebody is trying to come into power and they say we're going to shut our borders. They're saying, you know what, we're not going to allow those people, your brothers, my brothers, your sisters, my sisters. I mean, it means every other person in the world. We're looking at situation where it's becoming increasingly difficult to simply migrate from a place to a place, whether for greener pasture or for education or for whatever purpose. People just move from place to place, and it is not limited to Africans. Neither would it be limited to Nigerians. I mean, Pakistanis are so many in the United Kingdom that you'll be wondering, are you people naturalized here or what's happening? Jews are all over the place. I mean, all over the place. Everywhere you go to, thriving businesses, almost at least 40% of them are owned by Jews. So what are we talking about? Migration is a human thing. People just move. And this particular thing that we're talking about, you're talking about bad governance. It's everywhere. United Kingdom changed government. You see the sweeping votes. The Conservatives left, the Labour came in. It's simply everybody complaining that things are not working in their favour. We just had a government that was just elected into power a year and 2 months. Just 1 year and 2 months. I agree.
14 months now.
I agree with everybody who says, oh my God, things have become increasingly harder and stuff. I agree that all of the policies are coming at the same time, and it's making things extra difficult. But we must not shut our eyes and our ears to the intervention of the government to make sure that things are easier. Now, if they're not doing it right, it is my responsibility as a Nigerian and my opinion that I come on air and say, or I write a paper, or I go out and I say, these are the things that I think you can do better. For example, we had Governor Zulum go on the streets distributing food in a community where he knew that many of them were, people came back from the IGP camps and all that. He targeted women. Did you see the heads of the people in the crowd? They were women, lots of them, women who needed to feed their families. So he distributed food. What is the most expensive food that we're talking about right now? Rice and beans. Now he distributed rice to everybody. I mean, beans was something that we ate growing up, and then people didn't really like it. Now beans is so expensive that many people cannot even
afford
it.
You get it?
luxury.
So if we get people distributing rice, distributing beans here and there, or even subsidizing like the Lagos State government plans to do and did in the past, then you would say, but what are your governors doing to make sure that you have better food and that you have the better power to buy food? Just imagine 25% off beans. If a plate of beans now is 16,000 naira and 10% is 1,600, but taking 25% out, in my opinion, is very small, because beans is crazily expensive. I'm talking about a pint of beans. Now, if you make that 50%, just imagine, and then you go to communities where you know are basically the settlers there are basically people who have less than $100 or less than 100,000 naira in a month to live on, and you distribute food in that category or in those places, then you have done well. You have done well. We should be preferring solutions, because feeding is the basic problem that people have. If you can feed, you will spend your money on other things. You will put your money in your business if you buy cheaper food. So definitely. Can we be talking to our government, local governments, state governments, you know, about subsidizing food across board?
And not just axing down on the presidency.
And please, when we talk about bad governance, we also have bad citizens.
Exactly.
We've been talking about it for a while now.
I'm confused. Last week. What about we, the citizens too?
Let me shock you. I was in Imashai. Imashai is a village in Yewa local government, Yewa North local government. I was in Imashai about 2 weeks ago. Today is a Friday, so it was a Sunday. It was 2 Sundays ago. I was in Imashai, and this was what I saw. I drove past Imashai. A woman was frying gari, and I came down from my vehicle and I fried gari with her. Okay, and we had fun. You know, she greeted me really familiarly and stuff, and she sold gari to me a bucket. Now, you know, the drum of paint. You know, the drum is the bigger one, the 25 liter, and then the paint bucket is the smaller one, which is just about 4.5 or 3.5 liters. But the way they measure it, it comes to about 4 kg. You know, the way it's mounted. Now, look at the drum, the 25 liter paint. I bought that entire paint of gari at 10,000 naira at Imashai. Imashai is less than 3 hours from Lagos. Now, this is the interesting part. I drove from Imashai. 10 minutes later, I was in Ibeshe. Now, I got to Ibeshe and I wanted to buy gari. That same gari that I bought 10 minutes earlier for 10,000 naira was going to be sold to me at 3,500 for the 3.5 kg bucket. So it will come to buying at 20,000 naira. 10 minutes apart. 20,000 naira. Now they call Ibeshe the home of gari, so everybody goes to Ibeshe to go and buy gari. And I attack the women. I'm saying, you want to sell this product to me, I want to buy. But I'm asking you, why are you selling at double the price? Because the person who sold to me is just a single trader who farmed. She told me, fufu la rolano, like we made fufu yesterday, we prepared and sold fufu yesterday. Today is gari day. Now this woman is making gari, frying gari and selling. And for her, she sold at the, I'm telling you, her price was 10,000 and I bought at 10,000. It wasn't that I priced it. She sold to me. They don't use bowls, paint buckets to sell. They have a bowl that they used to sell.
Not the one they call paint job or something like that.
It's a bowl, it's a round bowl or something. She sold that gari, and I saw manipulation. The people selling that gari in Ibeshe didn't fry the gari. They actually bought the gari like I did, and then they went back to sell it. So the first thing is, we take advantage of situations. That's what I'm doing here. So there is bad governance and there is bad citizenry. Now, we are selling at exorbitant prices, less than 10 minutes apart. I asked the woman, I said, so if I buy and I take to Lagos, so the seller in Lagos who wants to sell at 4,000 naira per paint or 3,500 per paint is well on their point. They're well. They should sell. Why wouldn't they sell? My dear, why wouldn't they sell? They bought it at very high prices in the local, in the village market. So why wouldn't they sell?
And that is exactly where it is being produced now.
So you now see them come to town selling at very high prices, and you're complaining in Lagos that the prices are high. The prices will be high because they bought at a high price. So what exactly are we doing to ourselves as a people?
So
can we not take advantage of the situation, and can we just respect?
Make things easy for ourselves.
Can we just mark it up? So that's where government also comes in, and it comes to food regulation prices.
I was just coming to that.
Regulate prices, if you don't regulate prices, I heard the owner of Ife saying that you cannot sell tomatoes. You cannot be doing 500 naira tomatoes.
Yes.
In Ilaro, I saw these tiny tomatoes that we grew up knowing. Very tiny tomatoes.
The cherry tomatoes.
The cherry tomatoes, and that was what was in the market. About 20 pieces of that in a very small bowl was over 200 naira in Ilaro market. Things were cheap.
Over the weekend, a woman mounted like not up to 10 pieces of this same cherry tomatoes, and she said 500 naira. And I've been like someone looking at you in the face. Just less than 10 pieces of cherry tomatoes now.
They're tiny.
500 naira.
Do you understand what I'm saying? They're the tiny ones. And let me tell you the interesting thing about that tomato. I got home and I asked my mom, I said, do we plant this tomato? My mom said, no, woman lale wuni. So it actually grows right out.
It grows on its own.
So if you pour the water, if you just pour the water out, it just grows. So just imagine that. Now we abandoned our tomato. We only eat the northern tomato, or we eat the Cotonou tomato, and then we complain that pepper is expensive.
There is that factor to read too.
And then we now go to the farms. I grew up in a place where when things were very bad, and I'm talking about in the 90s, the late 90s and the early 2000s, things were very, very bad for my family. The only reason we could eat in our house and feed, this was Obasanjo's regime, was because we had a farm. We were a very touche family. We had a farm at our backyard. That farm, we had cassava, we had corn, we had tomatoes.
In the farmhouse.
Do you understand?
Yes.
And what is meat? I didn't eat stew for more than a year. When I was a teenager, I didn't eat stew. The only pepper that we could eat, the only thing that was our stew was ginger, the red ginger. In my place, you can grind the red ginger with a little bit of scent leaf, all from the farm. We grind it into paste and we cook it into a pepper soup, but a thicker form of pepper soup. And that's how we eat our amala. The amala is still the same lafun that came out from our farm that we went to grind just few paces away, do it, and then we eat. Everything we were eating was inside, was from that inside our farm. Things have been hard at one time or the other in our lives, and we've survived because we all resorted to farming. What happened to our farms? Let's not forget that it's not every place. Because then somebody will call now online and say, the elders are chasing people. There are attackers on the farm. Yes, my uncle was kidnapped on our farm in the village. I agree with you that those things did happen at some time. But I drove through the length and breadth of Ogun State, all the way from Ijebu to Agbara, and our farms are almost empty. Barren land. People are no longer farming. All of our kids, everybody has come to Lagos. Everybody wants to come to the city to come and make money. What happened to our farms? Must the northerners feed us? Can we not feed ourselves?
Well, the fact is, everybody has to play its own part.
We should stop pointing fingers at the government. What about the role? We have a role to play too. The better everybody knows that, the easier for us. So, okay, in a likely situation now, we have the federal government had earlier this week mentioned that international bodies should steer clear of Nigeria's internal issues, while highlighting the importance of cordial international relationship. Don't you think this warning is coming too late, given how far we've exposed ourselves to this same international body? Remembering clearly that in 2023, some of the presidential aspirants actually traveled out of the country to the Chatham House now to, I don't want to say bid their candidacy on the global platform.
That's what they did, yes.
So now you're now coming to say they should stay clear. We already opened our businesses to them.
And don't forget that we're always running to them, to go and beg for us for the slightest pretext.
Looking at the oil and gas too now, how the international oil companies have gained more, as in extensively huge ground over our local refineries. Until date, it's looking like it's a taboo for our local refineries to work.
Okay, so there are dimensions to this conversation. Let's begin from the last place where you started. As long as Nigeria is a part of OPEC, we have to meet our quota. And that's the only way we sell. That's how to sell our crude. Let's not deceive ourselves.
Okay.
That is, however, not responsible, because Saudi Arabia is selling too. Abi, are they not selling?
They are
Qatar
too.
is selling too. So what happened to their refineries? The refineries are working. So there is a bigger dimension to that, and I thankfully I saw a post yesterday from Dangote thanking the government or the president for stepping into the situation right now and making sure that they got what they needed. The local refineries can also work. I look forward to seeing Port Harcourt refinery actually kickstart, apart from the private modular refineries that are working, and then Dangote refinery now producing PMS.
Refinery since last year,
different promises.
Producing PMS. Dangote refinery producing PMS may not necessarily bring down the cost of petrol. In my opinion, because the truth is this: let's find out how much are they selling petrol in Saudi Arabia, who has more oil than we do. But what I think should happen is when there is healthy competition, all the modular refineries are working, and Nigeria's Port Harcourt refinery is working, which I candidly think the government should privatize anyway, because government has no business running business. My opinion, government has no business running business. Just create the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. Focus on governance, focus on making policies that will make businesses thrive, and then let Nigerians who are interested in business, take over and privatize. You can own a stake in it.
Yes.
You can own a stake in it, but don't want it. Now, nobody, no human being, no Nigerian businessman would own a Port Harcourt refinery and allow it to go down. So as soon as it comes up, please privatize it. My opinion. Now, when that is done and you have enough people produce, just imagine that we all go to the market with our gari. Just imagine that. We go to the market with our gari. Mine is yellow gari because I want to be more competitive. Mine is, and all of our products, measure up to the standard. Now it becomes a healthy. We will by ourselves begin to drop the prices a little. Remember when Dangote refinery, Dangote cement dropped the price of cement.
Yes.
Boa also did
the same.
There is something that happens when there is multi producers of a particular product. You will find Nigerians now enjoying better prices. That's what needs to happen with petrol. But now going back to where you started, which is the international dimension. See, we do not exist on an island. We are a West African nation, which means there's a bloc called ECOWAS. We are also an African nation. There's a bloc called AU, right? And then we are a world organization, so we're a part of the United Nations. We need to lean on one another to make certain things work. Hence, the idea of going to Chatham House. Hence, the idea of some people thinking that because the president that was announced as the winner of the 2023 general elections is not their candidate, writing the United States government and saying don't recognize this person because they feel that these are bigger standard democracies, these bigger economies, have a bearing, as it were. Yes, they do have a bearing sometimes. They have a leaning sometimes. But sometimes they just stay apart. They stay afar off and they just look at you guys and say, let's see what they will make of themselves. So, what Nigeria is doing as a sovereign nation is to say, hello, you're not feeding us. Hello, even when we take money from you, we pay back. They are not grants. Now, if you give us grants, you give it in certain direction. I even remember the Switzerland monies that was repatriated back to Nigeria. Repatriated back to Nigeria, the Abacha loot or whatever it is called. Even came with a caveat as to what it must be spent upon. Now, these are things that you would naturally say, hello, it's our money. You're giving it back to us. We should be able to adjudicate over it as we wish, as we desire. But that came with a caveat. So it is right for us to now begin to draw the line. There is never a time to stop taking abuse. Any kind of abuse is an abuse. You were slapped, you were pushed, they are the same abuse. Because when you would explain it, you say, I was abused, they will say, what kind? When they say it was physical, they still say, did he blow you? Or did he beat you? Or he shoved you? So you see, abuse is abuse. Prognosing in affairs that do not concern you is a form of abuse, and there is never a time to start or stop. When you say enough is enough, that is your time. You have started. So it is never too late to say, Ogbeni, madam, wherever you're coming from, stay in your lane. We are a democratic nation. We are a federation. We can handle our own business. That was what Niger said to us the other day. And what did we do? The whole of what happened? The whole of ECOWAS was saying, oh, we will do, and then what happened? They respected the will of the people. Because Niger is a nation, a democratic or otherwise, and then the military took over. But today, who is talking about Niger? It doesn't mean that there are no international, there are no continental, conversations around the fact, pressuring them to say, please go back to democracy and all that here and there. But it is difficult to say you're going to go into that country and impose on them what they should do, because they are a federation and they have a right to rule themselves.
In fact, they will left the ECOWAS. Well, let's just stick with this international dimension. Okay. You have a break?
Yes, we have to go on a break right now. Don't forget the numbers to call: 070 48 00 1077 or 090 62 01 1077. We'll be right back.
It's still the front burner on Melody 107.7 FM, Lagos, Nigeria, and we're still looking at burning issues
on the front burner.
On the front burner this morning, and I'm glad I'm glad you didn't mention Mali. Yes, these guys that were arrested in Nigeria were actually Polish citizens. Now, if you've been following events at the international scene, you will know that Viktor Orban, that's the president of Poland, I guess, is a strong ally of Russia's Vladimir Putin and will do anything to advance the cause of the Russian Federation. Now we've also seen the Russian influence getting stronger across the West African sub-region. Talking about Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and it has given a voice to the junta regime in those countries. Do you think the Russian government is also looking at expanding its influence into Nigeria one way or the other?
Okay, so I do not like speculations, although we can look at things and say for a fact, which was why I said there is never a time to stop taking abuse or to stop the incursion of abuse. Yorubas would say, umbo, awonla dedi. It doesn't mean that you do not know what you're doing. The fact that you keep quiet does not mean. You see, there are lots of things that goes on in governance that are not being said in black and white. That are not being said with words and actions. But ensuring that you keep your territorial integrity intact is one. Ensuring that the people outside of your shores respect you is another. So when you insist, that we do not want, we can do business, but we do not want any other thing, you must also show that you mean business. So for those who have allowed international organizations, Russia, whatever they call it, to dictate what they do in their country, I say kudos to them and well done. But I do not see any Nigerian president, especially Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I do not see any Nigerian president sleeping off and allowing that to happen at any point in time. It's not going to happen. See, this democracy that we enjoy, it was hard fought for. With blood, sweat, money. People went to exile and came back. Asylum seekers. Some people were beheaded. Some people faced the firing squad. All to ensure that today we have a democratic nation. Nobody will sit down and allow an incursion that would sort of now bring about a recolonization of some sort. Nobody will do that. Everybody wants to be powerful in their own right, and every nation will be powerful in their own right. But don't forget, any country in the world that ignores Nigeria does that at their own peril. Don't forget, Nigeria is going to be, by a matter of fact, it is not a matter of prophecy. Nigeria is going to be one of the most powerful nations, say in the next 30-40 years, if we continue on a trajectory of growth and development and economic power. We would get there. It's a matter of what is happening versus what could happen and what will eventually happen. First, we must not become an India. We must not, because India, as powerful, as big as the country is, still suffers as much poverty as can not be imagined. We must not be a big country where majority of the people are the oi polloi and the bourgeois rule over them and enforce over them. We must not be that country. We may be big, but we must empower our citizens to be big as well.
Like distribution of power.
There must be distribution of wealth, actually, not power. Distribution of wealth. So as Nigeria continues to grow in population, Nigeria must also continue to distribute wealth across the stratas so that we have more citizens rising above the lower level to the middle. The more middle you have, the more thriving your economy is. You don't necessarily have to have the rich, very rich, and then the extremely rich. No. You need to have people above the middle level and around the middle level, and very few people at the lower rung of the ladder. That's what needs to happen here. No country would want to ignore a country that has 220 million at least. Let's take the official figure, 210 million people. That's the country that will buy your products. That's the country that will trade with you. And don't forget that Nigerians thrive wherever they go. Don't forget that Nigerians will like book. So you're either going to take expatriates, you're either going to take the intellectuals, you're either going to take the businessmen, but everybody wants to deal, every country wants to deal with Nigeria. Forget what they say.
Including its natural resources.
Forget what they say about our green passport. Every country in the world that has sense wants to deal with Nigeria. Every country is interested, every powerful country is interested in what happens here. We have gold, we have iron ore, we have crude,
titanium,
we have titanium, we have gas.
Yes, we have,
and we have enough gas to take care of the entire European ABBA. So what are you talking about? They must not ignore us. They are not ignoring us. But we're also saying that you're welcome to do business with us, but you're not welcome to come and manipulate the system. You are not welcome to manipulate this, and that's why our leaders must be standing on their 2 feet and with their 2 eyes open, their ears to the ground, to make sure that our territorial integrity, again I say, stays intact. So which means borders that are porous in Niger, in Mali, where we border Chad and Cameroon, all of that must be manned. And I dare say, build a wall like Donald Trump.
Okay, now moving on to another story concerning the Nigerian Labour Congress. The Nigerian Labour Congress headquarters was invaded by alleged men of the DSS with some documents carted away. The DSS have come out to deny their involvement in the invasion. However, we already have top nationals like former VP and presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Femi Falana, and Amnesty International condemning the act, and that the security officials be held accountable. But in this case, where there is practically no one owning up to the incident, who should be held responsible?
It's a tough one.
It's not a tough one, really. It isn't a tough one, but you see, the saying power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. Our people tend to take advantage. I sincerely do hope that the DSS can prove themselves innocent in this, and say for a fact that they didn't do this. But if they did, I also think they should be able to stand up to it and say we did it for this purpose and this purpose and this purpose. Anything that has to do with the security matter, I'm always on the line there, the fine thin line between being here and there, because they may have a reason for it, but there is a way to do it. They may also have an intelligence that borders on,
But why do it after closing hours? That was around 8 p.m.
So why didn't they do it during the day anyway? when the people in question would be there. So if you were hiding something from me, as let's assume we're wives in the house, and is a husband, and you were hiding something from me that I want to show to our husband, and then you went to work, your night duty, would I do it during the day when you were there? We're both at home. Definitely. And ask you, confront you? Or would I do it in the night when you're no longer at home?
Away.
It makes sense that they do it at night. It makes sense that they do it when there is nobody at work, even during the weekend. If they have, peradventure, they constitutionally have a reason for it.
But if they truly constitutionally have a reason for it, would that not give them more
audacity?
Boldness? Yes, audacity now to do it when people are actually available.
Excuse me, ma. Have you looked for a file that was hidden by somebody and you did not find it before?
We have a caller.
Okay, let's pick a call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Oh, we lost that.
Okay, you didn't mention that you don't like to speculate, but I want to bring you in on this right now. Don't you see a correlation between this and the just concluded protests?
Actually, there was this allegation. There is this allegation that it was invaded because the NLC had the temerity to actually to criticize the government on the way some security officials handled the protest and all like that. But I don't think that's enough reason. Should that be enough reason for them to react in that manner?
Exactly why we should, as journalists, call it an allegation.
Allegedly, yeah.
It was said that it was the DSS, and also allegedly, it was said that they did that because of the criticism of the government during the protest. All right.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning. Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Professor Aregbe from Ogun State.
Okay.
Please, so can you please pick up a bit?
You have the floor, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you see, I really appreciate your program this morning,
Thank you.
But to speak on 3 things. Number 1, let me first speak on agriculture you are talking about.
Okay.
You see, as I am now, I'm a fashion designer.
Okay.
I'm a prophet.
Okay.
And still I'm a farmer. But let me tell you one thing. I live in the side. You understand? And in that time, I started farming at my backyard. And as I'm talking to you, I'm working on a 1 acre now, like as in about 6 plots now. That's manual. For the past 4 years, my sister, Gary Ilubo, I've never go to the market and buy it. I do it myself. You understand? So you can imagine when somebody is doing manual for 1 acre, we have a government supposed to provide things farmers needed.
To mechanize what you do.
The problem started from the local government. Everybody are just looking at federal government. Assuming all these things we used to use is in a local way. We mix them, take it, is either borrow or whatever. We continue using it. And Nigeria is a very country that got blessed. If you have a single maize floating on your feet, if rain falling, you have the time to pouring water, it should germinate. You understand?
Yeah.
It's where we are having problems. The people that can farm very well, they don't have opportunity to have anything they will use as in a way that is going to reduce their stress. It is people that is working with suit that they are giving the money. I can't say so many times as coming out. They started develop many and present very well. Compare it when we have only one radio, as maybe federal radio, government radio, but remember there is an individual production.
Yes.
You can see people like you, we are hearing what you are giving out now.
Yes.
But then, no way for you people
to be able to speak
you
out.
understand? If their state government can even arrange it, not even waiting for the federal government to come and do it for them. In a way, we have only one person to do the refinery in Dangote. So how much federal government cannot have only one is going to be working perfectly in this country? That is where we're having problems. You get the point.
Yes, we get
So
you, sir.
we just have to we have to look into it very well. And let me tell you one thing: this is going to happen in this country. If we can't divide, let people go on their way. Let Yoruba go on their way.
All right, thank you,
Thank you
so much for calling.
in.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Thank you so much for your thoughts.
We're not trailing that part today. No.
Yes.
No, we're not doing that. Okay, still on
Oh,
the
you
NL.
intend to trade this another day?
No, not another day. Not today. Not today, not any other day.
All right.
Still on the NLC matter, while there is the allegation of the NBAD governance protesters ish related to the NLC,
Yes.
don't you think, ma'am, that this is going to bring a bitter experience between the government now and the NLC, given they have this relationship already? Now this is happening.
Say, when it comes to NLC and government, they should never be on the same side, as a matter of fact, but they can respect one another.
Not that, yes.
But again, I say, you see, when it comes to DSS and security matters, I think the DSS should also begin to give briefings. Yes, they do not want us to know the faces behind,
Yeah.
but please do pass the information across to the police and let them know exactly, or release a press statement of some sort and let people know why you did what you did. So it wouldn't be said that the federal government, because the DSS is an agency of the federal government,
of course.
Yeah.
that if the federal government is using the DSS to shut people up or to intimidate people, please do press briefings, especially when you do this your extra after hours duty. Yes, now because there's extra after hours.
My state,
We're coming back home now.
state,
Yes, that's set to launch a digital platform for monthly rent. The Lagos State government has commenced process for the launch of a new digital platform for seamless monthly rent payment for tenants in the state. This is coming after the State Commissioner for Housing lamented the struggles with affordable housing in Lagos amid rapid population growth and limited land space. They also warned home owners against unreasonable rent increase, saying the government will take action against those.
Because I've had different kinds of landlords in Lagos, and landlord, first of all, Lagos landlord or landlord in Nigeria collects monthly rent.
You know we discussed that, right?
You know,
monthly.
Monthly rent.
Is that even possible?
They need to preach it to them in a way that it will seem like monthly salary. You know,
We find out
they need
comfortable with
to
that.
so that they will be comfortable with the idea of Emma will be pay salary lengba loshoshu, you know. They need to, and then would it also be comfortable for the people who are paying this rent?
Yes.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Rents are paid monthly across the world,
yeah.
and it is supposed to be easier to come up with the money and pay. Imagine you want to pay ₦1,000,000 and now you just have to pay 80,000 naira. You know how it is. So it's supposed to be easier relatively. But let's look at it also. If the government can bring the landlords on a platform and have an agreement of some sort, don't just force it down their throat.
Yes.
I think you should say to them, you should have meetings with them. Let the Commissioner for Housing also, create channels for landlords to engage, and engage, so that when you create this digital platform, it won't be useless. You won't have only 10% of tenants in Lagos enjoying the platform, while the rest of them are at the
I'm
mercy.
actually waiting for you to get to this, because there are a lot of loopholes when it comes to this landlord-tenant relationship.
Although it is we the tenants that don't take advantage of the situation, because the Lagos State government, for example, I know of Lagos, so I'm going to talk of Lagos.
Yes.
The Lagos State government has mediation centers for landlord-tenant relationship. So if you're giving sudden quick notice, you can go to the mediation center. I know of someone whose landlord decided to block her toilet. Yeah, block her toilet because she's owing them 10,000 naira, which was supposedly supposed to be money for Loma, and it was money to Loma which they were not paying. Money, it was supposed to be Loma and cleaner, compound cleaner.
Yes.
She is the compound cleaner. She's the one that cleans the compound. There is nobody sweeping the compound, and then Loma does not carry their debt. So just imagine,
So
and
where is
then
the money going to?
you get. So she's saying you don't even pay these people, and you are not sweeping. I'm the one doing this, and yet you're So they victimized her into actually paying the money because they blocked her toilet. They called the plumber to come block her toilet. Now, because she didn't know what to do, she went to the agent who took her there, and the guy said, hello, you don't need to come to me. There's a mediation center just right there in Agege. Go to the mediation center.
Listening to this, because a lot of people need
please,
to be aware.
across the local government, across the 20 local governments in Lagos, there are mediation centers that will cater to the problem between you and your landlord. Landlord, you can report your tenant. Tenant, you can report your landlord. And it's a mediation center, so it is a place where you can bring your problems, and then they try to help you come to a solution. That would be proper. That would be okay for everybody. They will not force any decision that anybody's true, but they will help you walk the fine thin line of the law to make you know that you can't do this to your tenant because you are actually taking over the person's rights and stopping the person from enjoying their fundamental human rights. So first of all, as tenants, take advantage of the mediation centers to resolve your issue with your landlord. Don't fight. Don't drag each other. That's first. Secondly, I think that we also need to take advantage of this digital platform when it's finally launched. But when it is launched, please, as the commissioner should engage landlords across Lagos. Establish a center where you're going to meet with landlords in Ogba, landlords in Ikeja, landlords do it local government by local government. Have a meeting with them. Let them understand it. Explain it to them. Let's not stuff things down people's throats and expect them to just fall in line. You need to explain it to them as a commissioner and your staff. Explain it to them. Let them understand it. And after that, the tenants will now enjoy this platform which you have provided. Because as we speak, some educated landlords who are well traveled will just look at this they'll just look at this digital platform, and they would allow their tenants to pay monthly rent. While some will say, being there,
calls, but unfortunately you won't be able to take it.
Being there. So a lot of people will not be able to take it. A lot of people will not be able to take advantage of it. Don't forget that some landlords already increased their rents the moment.
Yes. Okay. According to what I learned about the Lagos State tenancy law, you are only allowed to pay a year rent. Meanwhile, some landlords will enforce 2 years.
Oh, I know of someone that actually paid for 2 years just last week.
You can just set in.
Close to 4 million naira.
If the landlord wants you to vacate the home, you're supposed to get like 6 months notice.
So now let me tell you. Do you know how long the government has also put up that law that you don't pay more than 1 year? Do you know that agents now collect 25%?
Yes, of course.
25% agency, 25% by agreement, 25%. They just come up with all this laws.
I think last 2 weeks, I have a friend who wanted to get an apartment, and the apartment was 250,000 naira, and agreement, agent commission, everything was 350,000 naira.
So just imagine that. So your agreement is more than your rent. So you find also that they also come up with rules, because I want us to bring husband and wife.
Why?
You hear caretakers say, I don't give single ladies a house. I don't give single parents house. I don't give there is just that derogatory way that even agents look down on tenants way before they become their tenants, and they take undue advantage. So let's not just create these platforms and make these laws. Let's get right down to business and make sure that we enforce it. But before you enforce, communicate with the landlords. Meet with them, talk to them, educate the agents. I hear the estate agents also have an association, so engage them in meetings, community to community, local government to local government. Let them pass the message down and let them know. And please, while the commissioner, if the commissioner is listening, while you're talking about this digital platform, please also make sure that 25% thingy that they collect for agreements and commission, please let it be reduced to at least 10%.
We want to say a big thank you to our lovely guest, Mrs. Tomisi, for being.
To do this again.
Definitely, soonest. Because it's always been exciting to having you around.
Energetic.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. But before I go, I quickly want to talk about governance at the local level. And for those who are still protesting, I say that we all feel your pain. We all feel the pain as well. You're not alone. We understand what you're going through. But please, let's embrace engagement. I think that being on the street and talking about what we need there are two different things.
Yes.
you'd see that there are so many brilliant ideas that you have, that if you truly do a one-on-one and engage the government, you'll be able to pass that across faster than being on the street. So please, let's do engagement. And please, let's engage our local government leaders as well. Governments at the local level must thrive.
They have the autonomy now, so this is an avenue.
Even before the autonomy, they still get some internally generated revenue that they can spend on doing certain things.
But
so
at least now they
let
don't
them
have
thrive.
any reason.
They don't have any reason. No excuse whatsoever. So please engage your governors, engage your local government chairman, and kudos to the Lagos State government for the things that they've done already to bring this, this rapid